the situation is beginning to set in that, like, oh no, they don't want to be a vassal of the U.S. They don't want to be governed by the Epstein regime. They don't want to have, like, OnlyFans Tehran. They don't want Four Seasons Tehran. They don't want to be governed by the entity that just murdered 160 plus 7 to 10-year-old girls at an elementary school as they were showing up for school, right? Because yesterday, the U.S. reached out to Iran through Italy, suggesting that maybe there should be a ceasefire. Tehran said, no reason for us to talk right now. We reject the idea outright. I was so proven wrong. I was proven so wrong. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. The Iran war is going so well for Trump, you guys. Trump's actually taken the biggest... What? He doesn't look happy. Wait, what's going on? It's not going well? You're telling me it's not going well? Is that what you're saying? Wow. But I thought Trump said it was going to be like one and done, 2 days in and out, quick mission. You know, I thought it was going to be like I thought it was going to be like super chill and easy. Gee, did Fox News lie to us? Did CNN lie to? Wow. What? From the Financial Times, President Trump has no realistic plan for Iran's future. Shocking, ain't it? Shocking, ain't it? No. What do you mean no real? Of course Trump has the plan. Trump is like the most in touch with the Shia identity, the Shia revolution. He's more in touch with it than anyone else knows. I mean, he's got this all in the bag. He knows what he's doing, right, guys? Right, guys? 27% of Americans only support strikes on Iran. To put that in perspective, it was like 120% of Americans that were like in support of the Iraq war right after 9/11 happened. And then, well, now this is a much more difficult prospect than the Iraq war, and we don't even have a buildup of troops in the region, and only 27% of Americans think this is a good idea. Oh, and by the way, that poll was taken before it came out today. The U.S. reported that there was 8 U.S. casualties, 3 U.S. troop deaths, 5 injured, right? 3 dead U.S. troops today, 5 injured. 27% of Americans support strikes Iran, 43% oppose the strikes, which has led Donald Trump to, have his Jeb Bush moment where he says, that's when you're supposed to clap, right? He's saying, I'm entitled for one more term, right? You guys love me, right?
Maybe we do one more term. Should we do one more term? Do one more term. One more. Well, we're entitled to it because they cheated like hell in the second, right? So we would actually be entitled to it.
Imagine talking about like being cheated in an election when he just kidnapped the president of Venezuela and airstriked the leader of Iran. He's talking about he's like, well, the democracy in this country, it's really quite something. I was so cheated. Don't bring up Maduro. Don't bring up Khomeini. He's gonna get very uncomfortable. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, 3 U.S. soldiers were killed today. 5 were also seriously wounded. That's from U.S. CENTCOM. To be honest with all of you, I don't believe those numbers. I think the numbers are larger than that. God forbid, because I don't want anyone to die. This war didn't have to happen. Those, young men should not be stationed out there. Yes, of course, they're brainwashed. Yes, of course, I'm sure most of them believe in the mission, or frankly don't even care. But no one should be dying for the Epstein regime. No one should be dying for Israel. No one should be put through this. Okay, but that's who they're dying for. That is who they're dying for. Trump also, by the way, doesn't really seem to care at all. He's like, yeah, that sort of stuff's gonna happen. By the way, Iran is claiming that the 560 U.S. troops have been killed or wounded, the casualty figures. The U.S. has only admitted to 8 casualties. So we can assume that the number's probably somewhere in between there, because frankly speaking, Iran has no idea whatsoever how many troops are in the bases that they're hitting. They have no idea whatsoever. None. Also, some CIA assets were reportedly struck in a targeted precision strike in Dubai. We'll talk more about that later. But Iran has no idea, they're launching missiles at a base. They have no idea how many people are in the base, So I would imagine that the number's higher than 8, much lower than 560. But yes, somewhere in between that. And Trump admits again, because he admitted this the day he started the war, and now he's admitting it again, we expect casualties in Iran attacks, but argues it will be a great deal despite the losses. A great deal. So a great deal, but the deal is going to be worse than the Iran deal that you pulled out of. How does that make sense? So the deal is going to be worse than the Iran deal that you pulled out of at the behest of Mike Pompeo and John Bolton in your first Trump administration. But now U.S. troops are having to die to get into an even worse deal for the United States. Make it make sense. This is not a good sign either. Israel has called up 100,000 reserve soldiers. Of course, they're not going to risk the lives of these reserve soldiers. They're just going to be manning, air defense systems, man pads, things like that. But the problem for Israel is it doesn't really matter how many men you have manning the air defense systems, the Patriot systems, and the man pads. The problem is the amount of missiles you actually have at your disposal. That's why there was a U.S. cargo ship, U.S. cargo aircraft, which landed in Israel today, probably dropping off more defense munitions for the Zionist entity. We saw a video of Iran shooting down a $35 million American MQ-9 Reaper drone. By the way, you do not have free healthcare because of shit like this. Israel does, as you know. Iran has shot down 20 Hermes drones. Those are the Israeli ones, right? 20 Hermes drones and 2 MQ-9 Reaper drones, $35 million a pop. They downed both of those today, and 20 Hermes drones yesterday. Now, this is where things get very interesting because, again, Trump told us in and out, 2 days in and out, everything's fine. They're going to overthrow the government. Now the situation is beginning to set in that, oh no, they don't want to be a vassal of the U.S. They don't want to be governed by the Epstein regime. They don't want to have OnlyFans Tehran. They don't want Four Seasons Tehran. They don't want to be governed by the entity that just murdered 160 plus 7 to 10-year-old girls at an elementary school as they were showing up for school, right? Because yesterday, the U.S. reached out to Iran through Italy, suggesting that maybe there should be a ceasefire. Tehran said, no reason for us to talk right now. We reject the idea outright. That's from Yedioth Ahronoth, which is an Israeli publication. And in addition to that, I had Christopher Halali on my show today. Who is the great American journalist. He's also the international secretary of the American Communist Party. And he also got confirmation of this very fact, speaking to Iranian officials yesterday. So he actually had this confirmed before Yedioth Ahronoth, whatever the hell that means, came out with this. Senior U.S. officials under Trump reportedly saying that the war is expected to last multiple weeks, not days, after this became known, after it became quite clear that Iran didn't want to negotiate. Trump has since revealed a potential timeline for the war with Iran. It's always been a 4-week process, despite the fact that he reached out to Italy last night to try and get a ceasefire. We figured it'll be 4 weeks or so, despite the fact that before this began, or as this began, he said it's going to be 3 days in and out and the regime is going to collapse. It's always been about a 4-week process. So as strong as it is, it's a big country. It'll take 4 weeks or less. This man opened a Pandora's box. Now he's trying to close it. But the McDonald's that he ate for breakfast and lunch did not give him the strength to close the Pandora's box that he himself opened. Because on the one hand, he's going to Italy and saying, please, 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 let's talk about a ceasefire with the Iranians. No deal. Then he comes out and he says, oh yeah, no big deal. It's going to take 4 weeks, right? It's going to take 4 weeks, probably around that, maybe less. Then he's coming out and saying, we'll be talking to Iran. We should talk. Iran wants to talk. Does that sound like the guy? Does that sound like a guy who's actually talking to the Iranians? Does that sound like a guy who's Iran is at his knees, at his toes, at his feet, begging for a ceasefire? It's like your girlfriend breaks up with you and she's way hotter than you or something. And then your best friend comes over to hang out and he's like, oh, where's your girlfriend? And you're like, oh, well, everything's actually okay with us. We're going to be, we had a little bit, but everything's going to be okay. We're going to be talking and, she's everything is fine. We just need a little bit of talk, right? I think she wants to talk. So we're going to be talking. Doesn't sound all that confident to me. Why net? Again, it's like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Trump reportedly seeking swift end to Iran operation after realizing regime will not fall within envisioned 4 to 5 day initial military plan. That's the truth. U.S. officials propose immediate ceasefire through an intermediary that Iran rejected outright. That was from Ynet. Okay. Dropsite News also reporting the same, that they went through Italy, had failure. Netanyahu is having the exact opposite sort of approach to all this. He's saying, we are going to be striking thousands of targets of Iran in the coming days. So basically, they're planning to gazify Iran. We saw huge strikes on Iran today. As of this morning, Israel had already launched 1,400 strikes on Iran. The U.S. had already launched 1,000 strikes on Iran. So 2,400 in total as of this morning. But throughout the day, we saw an increase in the strikes. Of course, as we mentioned, things are not going to get any better. We mentioned this last night. Things are only going to escalate for the Iranians. They are only going to get more adventurous in their capabilities and their, I guess, their plans, their pathways to victory. Okay, because today we saw Iran announce that they fired, the IRGC announced they fired 4 anti-ship ballistic missiles at the USS Abraham Lincoln. It was unclear if any of them hit. I have not seen any reports that any of them did hit, but the IRGC is claiming that the U.S. carrier Abraham Lincoln has left the building, that they have left their position and they are fleeing to a safer location, presumably, after they are attacked by 4 anti-ship cruise missiles. Also, very, very noteworthy today, we saw that Iran bombed the French naval base in Abu Dhabi, located at Zayed Port. Okay. Now, this is where we get a whole nother dimension to this conflict, because French naval base was attacked. Obviously, the French, the UK were all participating in this operation with the US and the Israelis. So it becomes a legitimate target if it's being used to attack against the Iranians. The French decided that they are going to be moving their aircraft carrier, the Charles de Gaulle, and its entire strike group toward the Eastern Mediterranean. So they're going to be taking their Charles de Gaulle strike group. Now we'll have 3 carrier strike groups in the region, in the Eastern Mediterranean for the Charles de Gaulle near Iran. And after that, we saw Berlin, Paris, London come out with a joint statement saying they are prepared to take defensive actions. Yeah, right. Defensive actions. You started the war. You started the war. You started the war. You started the war. How can we explain it for the Goyim? You started the war. Berlin, Paris, London say they're prepared to take defensive actions to destroy Iran's military capabilities. So make of that what you will. We'll see what comes of that in the coming days. They're sending a U.S. carrier strike group over there after their base was being used to strike Iran, and they're calling it defensive. Bro, you're moving your carrier strike group halfway across the world. You've got an air base. You're in Western Europe. You've got an air base in the UAE that you're using with the US and Israel to strike Iran halfway across the world, and you're talking about defensive? What world are we living in? It's literally the meme. Iran is so evil and dangerous because they put their country next to our military bases. Shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have put the Persian Empire next to our military bases. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.